WB views. The first views of Crew Dragon. Look at that tail. That's the 3,500 degrees.
Yes.
Look for the hot thing, right?
It is the hottest thing in the sky right now. That is such a... It's literally lighting up the sky.
SpaceX Kapchak.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And Dragon, we've got you. Expect automated parachute deployment, and we have you on visual.
Automated chutes.
Wonderful to hear from the crew on the other side of the blackout period. The WB-57 high-altitude aircraft providing that thermal imaging. We saw the tail of the entry of the vehicle itself. Absolutely beautiful.
GPS converge. Expect nominal altitude for drogues.
Copy GPS, nominal altitude.
So again, nominal altitude for drogue deployment, that happens at about 18,000 feet. Again, good news after good news, Gary. Things are looking great for Crew 2 return.
I am loving this flight. That altitude expected 1 minute from now. Right as anticipated, Andy.
And brace for drogue window.
The thermal imaging system on board the WB-57 is getting us great views of the capsule, but should give us equally good views of the drogue deployment, expected seconds from now.
The capsule is traveling about 350 miles an hour. And the drogue chute's job is to slow it down to about 120.
Drogues deployed. Confirmation. That'll slow us down from 350 miles an hour to 120 miles an hour.
Dragon, video on 2 healthy drogues. Descent rate nominal.
Copy, great news.
So about 30 seconds, the main chutes are going to come out. There are 4 of them, and they deploy at about 6,500 feet. Oh, Gary, look at this. This is an excellent view of the drogue parachutes.
It is. Drogue separation. Main chute deploy. We'll wait for confirmation of 4 healthy mains.
Copy, great news, 1,000 meters.
Capital 1,000.
You really can't ask for anything better. We got confirmation of, you heard on the loops there, 4 healthy mains. Descent rate is nominal. That means we are expecting splashdown 3 minutes from now. Visually, you can see one of the mains taking up slightly longer to inflate. But the teams are tracking that as a nominal inflation rate, and the descent rate is as expected. We do have 4 healthy mains, and we are expecting an on-time splashdown.
Meters.
We copy 6.
600 meters. This is a better shot of those 4 healthy main parachutes attached to the Dragon spacecraft Endeavour as it continues to descend.
400 meters.
The rate is as expected, 400 meters from splashdown. .300 meters.
200 meters, brace.
Good copy, 200 embracing.
Standing by for confirmation of splashdown.
SpaceX sees splashdown and makes its release.
Copy, we heard the main.
Endeavour, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home to planet Earth.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be back to planet Earth. Thanks to FAA and Jackson teams. It was an honor to represent you and work with your family. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:33 p.m. Pacific, 10:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 4 astronauts of Crew 2, Shane Kimbrough, Megan MacArthur, Aki Hoshide, and Thomas Pesquet now safely returned to Earth. Confirmation that the main parachutes have been cut, and you can see from a thermal imaging camera that the fast boats are already on their way to meet up with Crew Dragon Endeavour. Now splashing down off the coast of Florida for the second time.
Endeavour 2-3, we think there's
Hey Shane, you're coming in broken, but we see stable 1.
copy, great news.
Stable 1 is the configuration that we were hoping for. Stable 1 means it's in the ocean upright and as expected.
So the teams have been ready and waiting about 3 nautical miles away.
Stay together, we're going to raise our...
And Dragon, please repeat.
Yeah, we're going to raise our visors if you get that.
Hey, go for visor raise.
So it looks like the astronauts inside are going to be lifting those visors. The recovery team has been waiting about 3 nautical miles away. So it's going to take them a little bit of time to make their way to Shane, Megan, Aki, and Thomas inside Dragon. Quick rundown of what is to come. So about a minute and a half after splashdown, Mission Control here in Hawthorne will give the go for safe approach. About 2 minutes away, 2 minutes from splashdown, the approach board begins its inspection. We are expecting that ordnance and hypergolf check to complete around the L plus 12-minute mark, around the L plus 30-minute mark.
Dragon, SpaceX time check.
Endeavour has you loud and clear, SpaceX.
We have it loud and clear as well. We stopped at the boat. We have it much better now.
So some good comms checks on screen right now. That is the Dragon capsule. in the background, upright and stable in the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a boat that is heading towards it. So at about L plus 30 minutes, the Dragon rigging is expected to complete. Again, rigging is where an employee as part of the recovery team will physically climb on top of Dragon and attach hardware necessary to hoist Dragon up and out of the water. Recovery ships also arrive at this time at L plus 38 minutes. That's when we're expecting to lift Dragon out of the water. L plus 40 minutes, Dragon will be on deck of the recovery vessel. And then at L plus 48 minutes, we are expecting Dragon hatch to open and the crew to egress after about 6 months in space.
That is the goal, to do this in under an hour, and it seems like the crew is right where they're supposed to be, right on time. We're getting thermal images of the fast boats out near the Crew Dragon Endeavor and the wonderfully smooth waters of the Gulf of Mexico, as predicted, which is fantastic. You can see there's 2 boats that are out towards the recovery vessel once we get a smoother lock on the vehicle itself. One of them collecting the parachutes, the other doing some of the rigging that you were talking about, Andy, which is super critical to the next series of steps.
Dragon, the SpaceX is go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside momentarily.
Okay, copy that. We're ready.
So we should see one of the fast boats go out really right next to the capsule. And Andy, you were describing this a little bit earlier. We'll see some personnel climb on board. That rigging equipment is hardware that they have on board, and they have to attach certain things to certain areas because the recovery vessel itself, the Go Navigator, is also moving out to...
Dragon, SpaceX, request permission to come on board via display cam only.
Yeah, welcome on board on the display cam, SpaceX.
Good copy, thanks, Shane.
So the teams here in Mission Control Hawthorne will get a peek inside the vehicle itself, watching over their shoulder. The crew themselves really are just in a waiting position. Their seats were rotated for chute deployment and for splashdown, so they're in a slightly more upright position. Although they're not completely upright, it just help them to brace. You heard that a couple of times over the Dragon the ground calls, brace for those chute deployments and for the splashdown itself. But really they're in just a waiting posture at this point as the recovery teams do their job. It'll take the Go Navigator recovery vessel, which we're getting some of the images from right now, the thermal images. It takes it quite a bit to get out to the capsule itself, about 30 minutes, which is why we have the fast boats. Fast boats doing a lot of the work ahead of time to prepare it so that really when the Go Navigator arrives right next to the spacecraft, it is ready to hoist onto the recovery vessel and onto the Dragon nest.
You can see that each of the boats are outfitted with spotlights to make sure that they can, again, do all their functions properly, as if this is a nighttime recovery out on the East Coast. But it looks like they have plenty of lighting. And this is the second time that this particular capsule has landed.
Right.
So this capsule Endeavor was used as part of the Demonstration 2 mission last year, flying Bob and Doug, and it has splashed down and been recovered once before, so this is not its first rodeo.
Really a testament to the capability of these American spacecraft that are rotating crews to and from the International Space Station as part of these expeditions. It is truly an international team. From the camera views that you're seeing right now on board the Go Navigator is teams representing NASA, SpaceX, European Space Agency, and the Japanese Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, all of them on board. Truly an international government and commercial joint effort to make something like this possible.
So this is the first fast boat. Right now it is it's essentially doing safety checks, making sure that ordnances and hyperballs are still not persisting in the area immediately around the vehicle. They're also doing essentially an inspection of the capsule itself to make sure that integrity-wise it is good before we start to again rig the equipment for hoisting while they're on tonight.
So again, it's going to take some time. We're shooting for less than an hour to bring the Dragon Endeavor onto the recovery ship and to open up the hatches and egress the crew or take them out and bring them onto the medical facilities. I can only imagine the views that were possible from right there in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's see, we do have a call-in from Leah Cheshire, NASA Communications, who's on the Go Navigator recovery ship and was able to witness the re-entry and splashdown of Crew Dragon Endeavor. Leah, if you can hear me, tell us about your experience witnessing Dragon Endeavor splash down, bringing a crew home from the International Space Station for the second time.
Barry, I can hardly explain how amazing this experience has been. Right now, as you say, I'm on Go Navigator. Right now, I'm at the boat, looking forward to the fast boat towards the spacecraft. We were standing on top of the helipad where we just landed at about 9 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern time. We stood under the helipad watching the crew members streak through the atmosphere. It truly looked like a meteor, and actually at the exact same time we spotted the crew members, we did see a meteorite in the sky. So it was an incredible moment, and I'm standing next to NASA astronaut Shannon Walker, who she herself just completed this journey 6 or 7 months ago as a member of the Crew 1 spacecraft and mission, and so it's been an incredible night here on Go Navigator. We can't ask for better conditions. It's wonderful temperatures. The sea is very smooth and glassy almost, and so things are just moving really smoothly here, and teams are executing everything necessary on the order.
Leah, tell me what's happening as you are witnessing it. You mentioned landing not too long ago, about an hour and a half ago on the recovery ship. Tell me what the teams have been doing. We witnessed the back end of that with the recovery boats deployed. What's been happening in preparation from your perspective to get ready for this moment?
We saw the fast boats and jet skis pull up next to us, pretty near us, as we waited for the capsule to re-enter the water. And I actually have a very good vision of the capsule right now. At sunset time, there's been several people on the ship, just making sure that all of the hydraulics and everything are ready to go to lift Crew Dragon up into the nest that is on the ship. And you'll see that as it's pulled toward the platform, that they will egress. They'll then move into medical checks. So all the team members here on the boat walk through a couple of flights tonight on the helicopters, and they're ready to jump in.
Go ahead for status update.
Alcohol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks are nominal. Rigging is in progress. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC as our next step.
5 minutes before lift and standing by for PMC.
All right, we're hearing private medical conference coming up.
Maybe we can hold for a minute if you'd like, just to finish the set phone ops if you'd like.
Sounds good. We'll call you back in 1 minute.
All right, and we're hearing those the crew sounding healthy from inside Crew Dragon Endeavor, walking through the final steps, getting a private medical conference. Leah, one more question before we let you go and witness some of the next series of events. Of course, we're going to be following all along the way, but after the crew enters into the Go Navigator vessel and does those medical checks, what are the next steps to get the crew home, either in Houston or in the European Space Agency?
It has been And what that is that able board and NASA judges will take the last kids back to their respective hometowns, especially those families that have been began their mission on the International Space Station. Everything is moving all night, wait now.
Leah Cheshire, NASA Communications, thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit about what's happening there at the recovery site. Best of luck to you. All right, that was Leah Cheshire on board the Go Navigator recovery vessel, now heading back to inside the Crew Dragon. We're getting those views right over the shoulder. The crew standing by, helmet visors up, really just in a waiting posture as we're waiting for the fast boats and teams out there to rig the Crew Dragon Endeavour with the proper equipment to hoist the capsule itself up onto the Go Navigator spacecraft, where you just heard Leah Cheshire and the remaining recovery teams are waiting for, of course, the series of medical checks and of course, personnel representing each of the space agencies, NASA, European Space Agency, JAXA, as well as SpaceX. So again, as expected, Crew Dragon Endeavour splashing down off the coast of Pensacola, Florida, right on time, 7:33 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An incredible journey. We got a fly around of the International Space Station, documenting the exterior of the orbiting complex with digital photographs. The first time we've done that since 2018 with a Soyuz survey that was done. A lot of elements of the space station have been added since, so we'll be able to document that and check on the status of areas that can't normally be seen by some of the exterior cameras, as well as the robotic arm. You see, we are getting views from inside Capsule Endeavour. The crew really just poised, seated, with their seats rotated slightly upright. You can see they still have access to some of the panels.
For status update.
Go ahead.
Boats turned around and making its final approach to you. Just a couple hundred meters off. Just checking in to see if you're ready for that PMC.
Yeah, ready for the PMC.
Alright, work. Next person you hear from should be a no.
Just got updates that the recovery vessel is just a couple hundred meters away from the Dragon capsule, and they are gearing up for the PMC, which stands for Private Medical Conference. The flight surgeon will check in with each of the crew members to make sure they are doing well, as they have just returned back to Earth after 199 days in space. right now, this is a view of the backside of the recovery vessel. That is essentially a crane. The bottom middle section is the platform or nest where the Dragon will be hoisted up and placed upon, and that platform actually will move towards the center of the boat into essentially a platform where the astronauts can step off of. And so again, the boat is backing up towards the Dragon capsule. You can see it in the background there, and it'll hook up all of its lines to the rigging equipment that the rigger is currently attaching on the spacecraft, and will hoist it up and get it on top of the recovery vessel.
We are not too far away from the Dragon spacecraft. It's right off of the aft end of the recovery vessel itself. So right as expected, it was expected to be a 30-minute transit.
SpaceX, I'm back with you.
Yeah, about a 30-minute transit, and they got there in 20.
I think a big part of this is you look at the seas right now, and there's effectively no movement, Gary. Leah described it, witnessing it firsthand. It is glass-like,
pristine, yeah.
Which makes really for the recovery operations just that much easier.
Really one of the very critical reasons why we are in an indirect handover posture. Again, the Crew 2 astronauts landing in the Gulf of Mexico before Crew 3 launched, it was really for this reason. It was because the weather at this moment in time was predicted to be as smooth and as fantastic as the weather predictions forecasted. So again, the crew is had a private medical conference that was an initial assessment before the docs on board have access to pull them out of the spacecraft. They have a pretty good idea of what to expect whenever they pull them out, so they'll know the right precautions to take and what's needed for each individual crew member. That, of course, privatized because of the medical reasons, but that is why we have medical personnel on board the recovery spacecraft, medical facilities on board, I'm sorry, not the recovery spacecraft, the recovery vessel, and medical facilities there as well. And of course, it'll be a time for the docs to do those initial checks before they, what's anticipated, will fly each of the crew members out on a helo back to shore, where there are planes staged for them to bring them back home. It's not going to be a very long transit at all until we have some crew members back home. Shane, Kimbrough, Megan MacArthur, Aki Hoshide, all planned to go on a NASA plane back to Houston. They'll land in Ellington Field, not too far away from the Johnson Space Center there, where they'll get to meet up with their family and friends, of course. Thomas Pesquet will board a separate plane and head over to Europe for the facilities over at the European Space Agency to do something similar. So we're continuing to provide coverage, even though the Crew Dragon and the crew inside have splashed down safely in the Gulf of Mexico at right on time, 7:33 p.m. Pacific, 10:33 p.m. Eastern. We'll continue to provide coverage until they egress or exit from the spacecraft itself. And once all 4 crew members are on board, we're expecting to get some calls from representatives of each of the space agencies of the astronauts that are on board. Crew Dragon Endeavour now, JAXA and ESA all calling in to provide some remarks after a successful mission and return of all 4 crew members back to planet Earth.
And this here is a live view inside of the Dragon capsule. The crew members are inside, and really, Gary, as you mentioned, they are just waiting for the recovery team to do their job, hoist the Dragon out of the water before they can egress the vehicle.
From this view inside Crew Dragon Endeavour, over on the right side, Megan MacArthur, the pilot for the Crew 2 mission. You can see that little black antenna sticking out from her seat. She's on a satellite phone right now, talking with the teams over in Mission Control Houston, getting confirmation that everyone's saying hi to the crew, checking in. Sounds like they're doing very well. If you remember back in the Demo 2 mission, it was a test mission for using Crew Dragon Endeavour, but really to verify that the SpaceX Crew Dragon was ready to carry crews as part of regular crew rotation missions to and from the International Space Station. As part of that, they used the satellite phone as one of the checks and measures to ensure that the crew had the capability to use the satellite phone to call the various teams and report statuses. It was